guys, if you are listening to this and you think I'm some sort of simp, like just for 2 seconds, think about.
I thought it would get an impact because it was a bit wild and wacky. And then news picked it up. GB News rang me and said, I've even had sent.
On LinkedIn?
They found my number on LinkedIn, sent it to me.
Without ever talking to you?
Correct, yeah.
Just to...
Yeah.
I mean... There's very few times I am ever lost for words, but it worries me because I've got a daughter myself.
And he said, next session you need to have high-vis when you're in the workshop. And he was like, there's yellow ones up there. Sorry if they're not your...
When you are getting comments and you're thinking, well, I'm dealing with all this and how I'm having to deal with it as well. Do you know what I mean? So season 8. And we've got Kelly Cartwright. What's the business, Kelly?
Core recruiter.
Core recruiter. And so, Kelly, the reason I wanted to get you on is because she's the first recruiter, isn't she? But specifically construction recruitment, because I don't think there's many that I actually see that sort of target the construction, which is strange because obviously trade shortage and trying to find good people to do the job because there's a lot of people that aren't very good at doing the job. So I'm very surprised there's not more of you. Is there more than what I think?
No, recruitment's not that glamorous.
I just, because you hear of people doing like tech recruitment and people doing like, I don't know, digital marketing recruitment and stuff like that, but you don't hear about construction. So how did you fall into it? And give us a bit of brief backstory, because what we try to do when people come on the show is we get you to obviously take us back to not like, I always wanted to be in recruitment ever since I was 3 years old, which you might have been, but just...
No, sorry.
But you left school, like a lot of people that come on, they're not very academic, or they found that actually I wanted to go and do something with my hands. Like, how did you get to where you are now? So just take us back and give us a brief sort of overview of what you did to get to how you're doing what you do now.
So I was always going to go advertising marketing route.
Yeah.
Went to college, got my grades, and just while I was sitting the last few exams, I needed some money. So whilst I had a job lined up to go into in advertising and marketing, I thought, right, I'll just go and do some admin, which I fell into recruitment just as a general administrator. Was a big national organisation, very good at what they do.
It wasn't Pertemps, was it?
No, it wasn't Pertemps. Do you want me to shout out who it was?
Go on, who was it?
It was Hayes.
Okay.
So absolutely loved my time there. And that is why I then stayed in recruitment, and I didn't actually go to the job that I should have gone to.
I always think stuff happens for a reason.
100%.
And if you hadn't have gone and done that, and where do you think you'd be now if you hadn't have gone and done the Hayes thing and you were going to do the other bit? Do you ever sit there and think like that? Because I don't think when you're in that moment you ever realise how much one decision impacts on the rest of your life.
If you look at it, I'd probably be doing something in advertising marketing space. They're big now in London, whereas they were based in Norwich. Yeah. So maybe down London potentially. I don't really know. I've not really thought about it, if I'm honest. I'm a bit like you, where you think, well, I chose to go into that job, do that admin job, and then obviously go on from there. Yeah. And that's probably a bit of fate. So
what type of recruitment were you doing in Hayes? Was that just...
Still construction.
Still construction.
Yeah. So I was sort of a junior and loved my time there, but the problem with Hayes is it's very national, very corporate, and I didn't enjoy that. There was a lot of red tape of, especially sort of the junior level people.
Can't make a decision.
Yeah, it was always, you've got to go through management. And that's fine. I totally understood that. I was sort of fresh out of school. But for me, it just sort of really reined me back in, and I hated that. So I then went and worked for somewhere else and was doing that for...
Still doing construction?
Still construction, yeah. Did that for 4.5 years. They then franchised, so I bought the franchise. And then obviously stepped away from their brand, rebranded to Core, and then 8 years.
Because I mean, obviously I don't want to talk about men and ladies, because I don't feel like we had a chat off camera about sort of the stigma of it in the construction and sort of our type of industry. But how does a lady, where obviously it is a male dominated industry, suddenly end up in construction, which is normally classed as big grubby guys, and it's like it's an outdoor mucky type of industry. What sort of got you about that? What was it that you sort of because there's a lot of people. For me, when I started doing this business and I watched everybody on social media, I suddenly got a newfound love for like watching people create things with their hands, and that's what sort of kept me doing what I was doing. Because initially, when I was just selling to wholesalers and I wasn't really seeing what was happening on social media, I never really got or understood how somebody used my product. And then obviously over the years, when I'm watching like people like Simon Bowler, and they make these gazebos, and you see the finished product, even I'm like, wow, look at that. What was it for you then that sort of, because it's not a typical thing that a lady would be drawn to?
I think that's probably half of it, is when you say to somebody, I'm in construction recruitment and also setting a business up at 23 years old, people are like, good luck.
Yeah.
And I think that is probably why I am so fired up for it, because I want to be that person that you do see that is doing it and doing it well.
So is that how old you were when you set the business up? 23?
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing as well, when you, anybody listening or watching to this, because setting up any business at any time is difficult. You'll always get people that say, oh, good luck with that. Or, oh, you'll be back in your old job by September. It's 2 months away, which puts that fear and doubt in you. But I think at 23, when you're starting a business, I don't know why, but people's perception of it is, well, you're young and you've got no experience.
Yeah.
But if you were, say, 38 and you said, I'm going to start my own business, you probably find people are a lot more receptive to it. So, congratulations from me on that, because 23, I don't feel like I was mature enough.
I think naivety did help me though.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you really realise what...
The risk.
Yeah. And also the thing is, and I look back at it now and you think, blimey, the buck doesn't stop anywhere but me. Whereas I think at the time, you're just like, yeah, this will be cool. Like, run my own business, swan in and out when I want, all that sort of jazz. And actually that is really far from.
Yeah.
You're the first in, last out.
Yeah. I mean, give somebody a brief overview then of the things to expect if they were to start a business. And do you feel like those things have changed as you've got older? Obviously, I'm not going to ask you your age, because that's...
I don't mind. I'm happy.
How old are you now?
31.
31. So what would you... Is stuff still just as it was for you, or do you find that actually now, because you've got that experience, actually it's a bit easier to control and understand, or has the industry changed so you've had to adapt? What would you say to somebody that's listening and watching that wants to start their own business, scared to take that step, to sort of say, well, actually, I didn't expect I'd be working all hours under the sun. I didn't expect that I wouldn't be going on holidays when I thought I was going on holidays. However, these are plus sides to it. Give somebody a bit of an overview as to, the pains and the good bit, well, the pros and the cons of running a business.
I think the biggest one was COVID. Obviously, nobody could foresee COVID.
Yeah.
So that was a big challenge for me. And obviously, there was no handbook as such as to how the hell we were all navigating it. But actually, I think for me, being honest with people and saying, look, none of us have been in this situation before. Yes, you're all looking to me for answers, but I haven't actually got the answers, I think is a massive plus for me. It's actually just being honest and communicating that.
I mean, do you think we were lucky? Because, I'll be perfectly honest, when I saw that construction didn't get shut down, like I was doing Hail Marys, because I feel, you look at other industries like nightclubs.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think they will ever recover to what it was. I haven't been to a nightclub now for probably five or 6 years. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like I was so lucky when they said construction's not affected. Obviously for you, that you've specialised in that as well. I mean,
that was I was sat there, and obviously I will never forget watching it, and you think, shit, I've put all my eggs in one basket. If we were multi-sector, I'd then be able to sort of push harder in, say, healthcare, that would probably need more demand, whereas construction, if that gets shut, what will happen?
Yeah.
Obviously, we had to change and adapt with, obviously, COVID, and certain requirements then became more. So, like, there was a lot of people that went out on site and did, for us, hand sanitisation points. There was people stood on the gates, traffic marshals that had to temperature check everybody coming in. So we were busier on that side of things, but then there's a lot of things that we were quieter on as well. So I would say to people, if you're going to start a business, you've got to have some big balls to do so, but also surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do my business without the support of my network, my friends, my family, my husband. And I think that's really important, and that's always overlooked.
Yeah.
And I think as I've got older, I've been more authentic and more vulnerable with it. I think when I was 23, and probably that I always sort of joke and say fake it till you make it, and that probably helped me back in the early days. Whereas now I'm very open. If I'm struggling, you know, I hate public speaking. Years ago I'd be like, yeah, I'm so cool, I'm this, I'm that, I can do this. Whereas now I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to go and pop my calms in the toilet and down in a gin, and then I'll be all right. But I think actually that's where I've got comfortable to say, I'm absolutely shitting it.
Yeah.
I haven't got my shit together. You might see me as this businesswoman that has got her stuff together. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of elements I do, but there are some that I don't. And I think being authentic in it.
I think social media's helped in that sense, because when I first started doing what I was doing, I couldn't really get across to people what goes into, you know, like my passion pouring into a design of a product. And then when people get to watch you on stories and you talk through something like, and you show why you thought of something, people can connect with that.
Yeah.
And I think obviously what you're talking about is very similar, is when you are upfront and honest with people, people think, actually, I can relate to that because I go through the same thing.
And I think it's easy that everyone looks at social media and thinks, oh yeah, they're doing great, or they've got their ducks in a row.
Well, I don't tend to follow anybody like that.
No, I don't.
You know where everything is good, because you're just like, I wake up in the morning, I've got 3 kids to get out the door. That first hour is the most stressful part of my day. And like, you know, if I was there showing I'm driving a Lamborghini and I'm sat on a rooftop bar in Dubai, like it's just not real life. Do you know what I mean? And
it's the edited highlights is what I always say.
Yeah. So, you know, I think it's good that you've come to that sort of, you know, you've changed from when you were younger. And I think when you're younger as well, is you don't want to admit, A, you might need some help, B, that you've made a real shitter of it because you think...
I've bitten the way off more than I can do.
Do you know what I mean? So I feel like, you know, you've probably grown as you've got older with that experience. You've learned to sort of...
Absolutely. But I do think the naivety piece does... Would I necessarily now start a business like I did at 23? Not sure.
So do you think then for maybe younger people, because you don't have that risk factor there? Because one thing I've found as well is the older I've got, I've probably got less appetite for risk, if that makes sense. Yeah. You know, you get a mortgage, you get kids, you get a car that doesn't work, like mine, and you sort of, you go, like that. And I think when you're young, you know, like I would probably say to anybody, the earlier you can start, even if it fails, you've had a go at it, is just crack on when you're younger. So actually, you know, you've probably done it the right get my teeth in, right there, the right way round.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So other stuff then, because I stumbled across you on social media because I tend to see you at different awards and stuff like that, and I see that you're very well at I wouldn't say well connected, but I'd say you do very well at networking from what I can tell from some of the posts and stuff like that on there. Obviously the high-vis dress that's gone super global as we found out, it made it to America. You know, talk us through sort of, you know, your social media and how you use it for yourself or to sort of convey the types of things that you're doing. Because, you know, and also tell us where the idea came for the high-vis dress.
So I'll start off with my socials. I think we touched on it earlier. Recruiters get such a bad name of, I just want to put a bum on a seat, make my money and then disappear. Whereas I think for us and my business, it's about investing in the industry and actually the industry as a whole. We're talking a lot about skill shortage, but why is there a skill shortage? So a lot of the problems that I see is because the younger generation are like, oh, you're not going to do very well at school, so you can go into construction. That's not what the school level needs to be told. What they need to be shown is actually come into construction, whether you're academic or not, and this is what the opportunities have got in front of you. So for me, that's why I try and do a lot for our industry, which doesn't necessarily benefit me in terms of transactional business, but actually for the industry that we work within is really important. And actually that's what I'm passionate about.
I think if people don't do that, then the industry doesn't evolve, it doesn't grow, because I feel like if people just do what they're paid to do, then nobody benefits. So you have to put in a bit more to make sure that you get a bit bit more back. But people like yourself, where you see the stuff that you're doing and the support that you're giving to the industry, I feel like people then wish to support you, because it's almost like you're doing it and you're not expecting anything in return either.
And actually there's genuine reason behind it, and I think a lot of people say to me, oh, why are you doing that? Oh, that's a long way for you, because obviously we're based in the back end of Beyond. But actually for me, I'm always about a bit of good karma, and I think if we're all doing good things will come back around. So that's why I'm a bit of a pro. I say yes to everything, then I go, oh shit, how am I going to try and navigate that?
I always feel as well, if you look at stuff in a positive frame and you think, I'll take that opportunity, you never realise that, like you come on here and it may well have been that you come in and I say something to you and you go, I never thought of that. And then something else comes through.
Well, I've got my tool bag, so I'm buzzing.
Oh, there you go. You're fully fledged.
You'll see me.
Professional now. So
I'll be ditching the Louis. I'll be.
Are we able to talk about your stuff that you've been doing behind the scenes at some point?
Yeah, if you want. Yeah.
So we were discussing again off camera about giving you a tool bag, and you said that you've been learning some new skills which aren't recruitment related.
No.
So just give us a little bit of a backstory, and are we going to see you at Super Trowel in August?
I mean,
bursting onto the scene, taking the crown.
I think that's a little bit.
I'd absolutely love that,
Could you
like
imagine?
an absolute unknown entity, and everyone's like, who's that over there? That's Kelly Cartwright. You're just there in your high-vis dress.
Could you imagine it?
Could see it now. But just give us a little bit of backstory into what you've been up to on the semi-sly.
On the sly. Yeah. So for me, I want to be immersed in our industry, but also I don't want to be a wife that's, can you just put a shelf up and can you just do this? So I've done some evening classes in different trades to actually learn the trades.
And now you've got a wife that you can say, shelf's not level there, babe. Come on.
Yeah. That's now a pink job, not a blue job.
And what's the best bit about doing that? Because I mean, I could probably do with some lessons myself, to be perfectly honest, because I'm only good at electronics. Anything else, and I'm terrible. But what's the idea behind it then for the future with that? Are you actually going to start moving more into that? And
yes, the long-term plan is to try and do some renovations, refurbs, and then ultimately my other half's a site manager, so we want to then go and do our own development on the side as well.
Okay.
But I think for me as well, it's actually being able to tell people I can do it.
Yeah.
So, because I think a lot of the time people think, oh no, I can't do that, and they don't know anybody that's done it. Whereas if you can sit down and have a conversation face to face with them and say, look, why are you not going to go into a trade? And they go, oh, because I can't do it for this, that and the other. If you can sit there and go, well, I've done it whilst I've also got, a job, but my own business. So you can still do it and not have to learn on the job. You can upskill and then move into that field. Hopefully that would then inspire other people to come through.
Yeah. I also think it's good from the recruitment side as well, because you can then understand the people that you're trying to place.
100%.
Like the challenges.
Bricklayers, oh my God, hats off to you, because that's fucking hard work.
And not only is it hard work, but you're battling against the weather and stuff like that. And I honestly think it's a really good thing that everybody, and I think more schools should encourage for you to even learn the basics of some of these things, so that you are able to semi-support yourself as a grown adult in, even changing plugs.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know whether kids still do that at school. Obviously, I did that at school, but I don't know whether they still do it now.
Not sure. But I think also as well, trying to educate the educational system. So when I went into the evening classes, straight away, the tutor judged me instantly. Because I went in from work, I'd been out and about in meetings, so I had got full face makeup, hair was done, looking pristine.
Yeah.
And he sort of went like that straight away.
Was that because you were a woman, or just the way?
Because I was the only female on the course, and we sat down in the classroom for the first session. I thought, I'm not going to take high-vis because it's going to be paperwork, getting inducted and all that sort of stuff. And he said, oh, next session you need to have high-vis when you're in the workshop. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And he was like, there's yellow ones up there. Sorry if they're not your colour and they don't go with your complexion though. And I was like, oh, okay, here we go. I was like, yeah, well, orange is more my colour. So anyway, the next time I went in, and he was like, there was a few comments of, oh, what about if you chip your nail? Or, oh, you're going to be all right doing this and that? And I thought, oh, for fuck's sake, here we go. And then after a few conversations, he then starts to realise that what I'm actually about, and then realises that I'm not just some sort of dolly bird. Then after that he was amazing, but it had to get to that point for him to realise I wasn't just there to, you know. And he kept saying, "Oh, you're getting a lot of photos and stuff," and I was like, "Well, yeah, because I want to show my own content of me learning. It's not for me to go, oh, here's me with doing whatever. It's actually here's me grafting.
Here's me with my pink trowel."
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Just.
But honestly, I was just like, oh, here we go. And I thought at that point, no wonder why women don't want to come into it if you're going to get judged from that point straight away.
The thing is, I know I'm going to get a load of trolls on this, but I also think I have to keep talking about it because so many ladies come on this show, and I'm a big champion for trying to push women in trades, whatever trade.
Thank you for that, because we need more of you.
Well, I don't know whether my wife thanks me for anything, but I just feel like every time I'm talking to a lady that comes on here, they've had that experience, but there's so many guys that are just very dismissive, or well, that never happens because I've never seen it on site. Do you know what I mean? So they're so dismissive, and a lot of guys be like, "Stop ramming this stuff down our throats." Do you know what I mean? But I'm going to keep talking about it because until somebody comes on and goes, "It hasn't happened," and I think we've only had one. Is it? I think Darcy. Is it one? Maybe two. But I just feel like more people need to talk about it, so guys can actually just, you know, like don't get me wrong. There's always going to be banter on a site, but stuff where it's negative from the off, just because of how you look, obviously from a perception, is just, for me, it's just not on. And I find it boggles my mind. It absolutely boggles my mind. That
not even on site or construction related. When I've gone to awards and I go with my husband, the amount of times we've sat down at a table,
people think the awards,
and they go, "Oh, what award are you up for, mate?" And I'm just sat there like, oh, here we go again. And now we just joke about it. We think it's quite amusing.
Husband of the year. Husband of the
Chauffeur. Number one supporter.
Photographer of the year. There's just so many I'm here for.
But that is, and even that, you think, oh my God, we're in this setting. And it happens all the time. It's not just once or twice. It's 95%.
I mean, I can get it to a certain extent because the majority of people go into these, it is primarily male, but I just feel like now there shouldn't be any presumption on what you're there for or what award you're up for, whatever. It should just be normal. Do you know what I mean? Just be like, oh, how come you're here? And then you go, oh, well, I'm up for an award. Like if you're unsure about it, just toss it
straight in.
But I mean, so. A lot of people, and especially a lot of ladies, if they'd have gone and had that same experience, and this is guys will go, oh, stop being a snowflake about it. But if you're already apprehensive because you are a lady and you walk into that room and you suddenly don't see any other ladies, or we had who was it on? It was Tyson. So Tyson, obviously, who we had on, what's Tyson's handle for plumbing? Fairway Plumbing and Heating. So Tyson obviously changed his name to Tyson when he was going out on site because obviously he's mixed race. He wasn't getting any work. And it's the same maybe when he walks into a room, you walk into the room as a lady, there's nobody else that looks at you. And if you get one of those comments and you haven't had a good day, is that going to impact you to then go home and be like, come back to you and say, I'm not going to that. I just can't deal with that shit. And then if it's not just once, it's twice when you're going there, or it takes at least 5 weeks for him to suddenly go, actually, she's been here the whole time and she wants to learn, type of thing. It just puts people off. So how do we break that stigma, and how do we stop that? Was it somebody that was older as well? Yeah.
The pale stale generation that we have as well.
So I feel like obviously you're doing a lot of work on sites. Would you say that in the 10 or so, almost 10 years that you've been doing your business for, would you say attitudes on site have changed towards?
Some, yeah, some no. I mean, even now you still have to, I always say you've got to earn your stripes. So even if I'm sat pitching to a client, they want me to show that I know what I'm talking about, because I think you get it straight away. They're like, oh, what does she know? She's just a dolly bird. So I always have to just go above and beyond.
Why don't people just say, how many years of experience have you got?
Because I think
Can you tell me about your business?
I think they just
sell me your business rather than...
They just look. And also, let's be real, most people would probably, in my opinion, if that was me and I was having someone pitch to me, I would go and look at all their social media. I'd look at their company's house and I'd all that sort of stuff. That's what I do. Most people would. Yeah. But you still don't get it. And it's and even now, still, you will still get the site, what shall I say, where they're like, and I think, Jesus Christ, I'm not an alien. I've not just fell out of the sky. Most of the guys across the region have seen me on and off site a lot, because obviously I've done this for a long time. So it's not as if it's a new phase, like, who's that? You know who I am, for crying out loud. Yeah. But even that, they're still like, you've just fell out of the
And I mean, the thing
space.
is, when you've already got those relationships and people know that you are not just a fly-by-night, you're not just here for I'll quickly into the industry and then bugger off, and you are part of the furniture, and you're still getting that. I mean, how do you does that give you more motivation then to be successful, or does that sometimes does it wear you down? Like,
I've probably had it, I'll be honest, at the start of this year, and obviously my other half can back me up on it. I really struggled with mental health, and that was just purely because there was a lot of negativity, a trolling, things like that you think, this isn't even relating to what I do as a job. It's about my passion. What's the point? Like, I'm not doing this for money making. I'm doing it to support the wider community of construction. Yet I'm being pulled down for it, and I really struggled with it. And there was a few times you just think, what's the point? It'd be so easy to go and work in, I don't know, say Tesco, stack
Morrison's,
shelves, 10 hours a day, go home, not be anybody, not raise my head above the parapet and try and help them champion certain things. To then, so that was a tough point. So but that's the only time.
How would you pick yourself up out of that and then sort of say to yourself, well, do you know what? I'm not going to let it.
Because I then look at what I've done over however many years, what I've built, what the impact I've had is. And I've also got, like I said, very good people around me to say, don't let that bother you.
Because I do want, if there are girls listening to this or watching this, not to feel like I'm trying to get something negative out of you. I'm just trying to get them prepared, because I don't feel like anybody should have to be prepared for that, but just to understand the stuff that can happen or the stuff that is happening.
You can also then have, on a positive side, I've got some amazing clients, candidates that have worked with me a long time that are true champions and will support me no matter what. If I rang them up and said, I need help with this, or I've just done a carpentry course. One of my clients said, well, come out on site. Because he's an ex-carpenter himself. He's like, come and work on site for a day. I'll show you. We'll do a first fix together. Amazing. Like, they're the positives you do get out of it. Yeah. And it isn't all negative, but there is a lot of negatives you have to prepare yourself for and be mentally strong for.
Ladies and gents, just a quick one to say a huge thank you to our new headline sponsor, CT1, the best sealants on the market, voted for by the British public. Not only that, it's made in Britain as well. So go and support a product and a brand that is made in the UK. But I just want to say to you, they've got a brand new product out, which is the BT1. It's a combination sealant and adhesive like the popular CT1, but it's perfect for keeping a hygienic environment. And it's designed to completely stop the growth of bacteria, microbes, and fungus. And not only that, this stuff is strong. Now, it's going to be available at Travis Perkins, Wickes, Jewson's, and pretty much everywhere else, so there's no excuse not to go and give it a go. So we're really happy to be partnering with CT1.
I mean, was the majority of stuff that you were getting, was it just through social media? I mean, I talk about Tyson and also Darcy, we talked about off camera, but Tyson, because again, in here, it doesn't really matter whether somebody's black, brown, whatever. Like, it just does not matter. And nobody in here really comments on anybody else. People dress differently. No one really cares. And it wasn't until we stuck out the reels on TikTok, was it? And the comments. And I was just like, and you think all somebody's done, and all it was that I remember the one reel was Tyson was just talking about his own personal experience and having to change his name. And he said, I had a friend, I think his friend was Asian, and his friend had to change his name to like Bob or something like that, wasn't he? And he suddenly started getting work, but he told his story, but the comments, and people were just like, this doesn't happen, it's absolute bullshit, it doesn't happen on my site. And it's not just because it doesn't happen to you, doesn't mean that it doesn't happen to others, but I didn't realise just how much it went off in the comments, and I was thinking, well, I'm glad I've done it, because initially I was thinking, well, do we need to start getting into stuff like that? You know, like obviously, because I feel like it shouldn't be happening, but when we did touch into it, I was like, holy shit, I've just opened a
can of worms.
But it was good for me because it educated me that actually that stuff is going on. And every time I have somebody on and they're in your position and they say that this has happened to me, it's actually good for me because it's helping me understand what other people go through within the industry. So,
and I think people don't want to talk about it. Like I'll ever say to, you know, just randomly post on social media, I really struggled with mental health at the start of the year, because why would I? Because actually you're showing that weakness and the being vulnerable, but actually having those conversations, it probably would highlight to people you aren't alone, because I think there is obviously a massive stigma of mental health in our industry.
There is in construction. I do feel that's probably one of the reasons why male suicide's so high is, you know, it's lad banter on site, and you probably, especially if you're not like you're a guy, but you're not very, you know, alpha lad, and you go on site and you've got some that are on there and they're obviously, you know, taking the piss out of you, and you continues all the time, and maybe to me and you, if we were joking around, that's fine, but to somebody else it's not. And it's the same with you know, what somebody thinks is fine to say to you, actually you know, depending on what day it is, some days you just brush it off. So it's sort of, again, how do we change opinions around like women in trades, and also how do we get other people to just be more supportive of what everybody's doing instead of being, you know, trying to tear people down, trying to build people up. And
I think it's just about being kind to people. If somebody's out there trying to do something or trying to better their life or change, you know, if there's a lady that's coming into it on your site, actually being, right, what can I do to support you? Not going, oh, fucking hell, what are you doing here? You know, that kind of thing, and actually just understanding.
Do you place many ladies for roles
Not
yourself?
as many as we'd love to. But again, it's that we're lucky because obviously we can then have that conversation with the client. So on day one, they'll turn up, they know, oh, we've got a lady. They're expecting
watch out for pervert Jim.
Yeah. Get him away.
But it's very similar, actually. I'll touch on it with the stuff that's been going on in the Houses of Parliament. So from what I did a bit of digging, and I think there was 65 cases, ongoing cases of sexual harassment.
Blimey.
And there's 650 something MPs. So it's 10%. You know, obviously, again, we talked off camera about LinkedIn. So this was another thing which I didn't realise was, as a guy, I only get other guys message me. I don't really get a lady approach me on LinkedIn or to ask me anything unless it's selling me something. And there was a lady that worked here and she left, and I talked about this with you, and she showed me her messages, and it was literally guys just trying to crack onto her all the time. And again, that educated me, because I must be so naive, because I would never contact a lady on LinkedIn to tell her that she looked beautiful and your eyes were amazing and give me your number or anything like that. And, you know, you talked about that with me out there. And
it does happen. I've even had dick pics sent.
On LinkedIn?
No, they found my number on LinkedIn.
I was going to say on LinkedIn,
and
there's
then sent it.
there is, I mean, like.
They found my number on LinkedIn, sent it to me.
Without ever talking to you?
Correct, yeah.
Just to.
Yeah.
I mean. Just.
What catch, eh?
Sorry about that.
What on the. I mean, I shouldn't laugh about that, but just.
Yeah.
That is just unreal.
I'll just laugh, I think, really.
No, but like, I cannot fathom how somebody would get your number off LinkedIn of all places and then go, have a load of that. What planet? Like, sorry, you're going to have to cut that one, but that is just
madness.
And this is things that, like, you know, guys, if you are listening to this and you think I'm some sort of simp, like, just for 2 seconds, think about all you want to do is go to work, come home, and that is it. You do not want to come home and somebody has got their and sent you a picture of it. You imagine, like, in fact, I won't say this to guys. You imagine that a woman sent it to you, because most guys go, yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
but,
they would.
Like, put yourself in that position that it's somebody that you do not want to send you that, somebody that you don't want more unwarranted attention off, and you know, you've always got that in the back of your mind. It's not only you're going out on site or you're going on jobs and you're still getting shit off people, you're still getting sly comments when you go to learn off people. You're then getting sexually harassed by people. Like, you know, I'll take my hat off to you, because most people would have chucked the towel in. I probably would have, because I probably would have gone, I can't handle this shit. Like, I don't want any of that. What do I need it for?
Yeah.
Which you can understand the toll on the mental health.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you are getting comments and you're thinking, well, I'm dealing with all this and how I'm having to deal with this shit as well. Do you know what I mean? But guys, just stop and think. No heavy breathing. Just control your sexual urges. You raving perverts. Like, I just cannot fathom it. Like, on behalf of most men, like the majority of good guys, like, I've got to apologise, because there's obviously I don't even know how to carry that conversation on now. I'm so like,
I thought I'd share that with you.
No, I'm just like semi-infuriated by it, because I just feel like it just shouldn't even be a thing now.
No.
It shouldn't even be a thing. What you should do is just start having a collage of them somewhere and putting them out there and saying, whoever this was, like, unfortunately your balls are so ugly and look at the state of that. And just,
I nearly sent him a razor back, to be honest, because he did need to do some gardening.
but isn't it, I mean, the problem is if, like, you did do that, you'd probably get, is that revenge porn? Is that classed as revenge porn? If you posted them out there.
Just a bit of advice.
I've completely lost where I am now.
Sorry.
It's just mental. Absolutely mental. How do we move on from dick pics, Jack? There's very few times that I am ever, like, lost for words, but it worries me, because I've got a daughter myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, I had this conversation before with, is it Georgina? And she's got like a logging business with her father, and she was talking about a girl came in and went, oh, look, Daddy, there's a girl working here, you know, all that sort of stuff. And I said to her, I said, you know, if my daughter ever said to me she wants to go into trades or anything, I'd never say, well, you can't do it. Do you know what I mean? But that stuff sort of semi gets me, like, makes me piss ball. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think, you know. Help me out here, Jack. I'm getting more infuriated by somebody else's schlong than I ever have. Any other questions you think we can? Just, it does really anger me, you know, because I you're probably the same. Like, you just, don't get me wrong. When you're young, you'll chase girls and you'll have a little bit of romance and stuff like that. But I'd never, ever, on a platform that is professional.
Yeah, I know.
Even think about that.
But some of the comments you get and, like, messages, you just think, really?
That's your number for you to do work. That's not somebody else's number for them to send and invade your.
Yeah. And it was on a Saturday. It was a weekend.
Yeah.
But imagine explaining that to your husband. Oh, hon, look at this.
But no, I mean, like, it's good that you've got that relationship, because, to be fair, some ladies might, like, you know, they might be dating guys as well, because some guys can be quite controlling and be like, oh, what's that on your phone? And then theoretically, you've got kids or whatever. You know, the first instinct of anybody is to be like, well, who are you doing stuff with? Do you know what I mean? Like,
but that's why I've always been honest. I think if you're not, because there are things like that.
Some people feel like they might not be able to say that to their partner, because they'll just, wow, you're obviously sleeping with somebody and blah, blah, you know, because it can look like that. Yeah. So, you know, guys, you end up splitting somebody up or putting pressure on people's relationships.
Madness.
I never thought of that either. I'm going to get stuck on some dick pics here, aren't I? I was going to go on to, like, stuff to do with on the tools and stuff like that. You know, how did that sort of stuff come about? And, you know, what type of stuff have you done with those guys? Or, you know, what other bits are you doing within, you know, the construction industry that aren't related so much to your job?
So on the tools, I was nominated for an award last year.
Yeah.
Which Alice kindly told me about. Which
one was your award for?
Community hero. So Alice sort of announced it to me, which took me back completely. And she said to me, you need to wear the dress you wore to the top 100, which was the orange high-vis dress. And I was like, yeah. Told my other half about it. He went, you've never worn a dress twice, Kelly. And I was like, oh, fuck, yeah, that is a good point. So I was like, hang on a minute. They're yellow high-vis.
Yellow high-vis is my favourite.
Yeah, I'm more orange.
I'm a yellow high-vis
I'm
man.
an orange girl.
He's like, yeah, I'm a yellow man.
So yeah, that's how the high-vis.
You need to get a yellow high-vis tux.
He had the back done, and he had a dicky bow and a pocket square.
Like it.
It was very good. Yeah, he always has to match if he's attending.
Oh, you do, don't you? It's like Brangelina, but you don't split up at the end of it.
Yeah, no, especially not over dick pics.
So you got nominated for the award, like, you know, just for anybody that's listening or watching to this, we obviously won on the Tools Award. What's it like to be nominated? Because I presume it's voted for by. Is it voted for by other people?
They get judged. So a nomination goes in, and then it's judged by whoever.
Okay.
I even now hate it. I cringe at it. And
why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think I get a bit of imposter syndrome when you walk into the room and there's all these amazing people. I went to one last year. It was for Great British Entrepreneur Awards. And I've never been in a room with that many people. I walked in and I looked to my other half and I was like, holy fuck, there is a lot of people in here.
I think the more you do these things, then the more you...
No. I still get as nervous now than probably day one. And I think it's probably worse because I even know probably what to expect.
I think the thing is sometimes with the imposter syndrome is you could sit down at a table and you speak to somebody and like, yeah, I'm on the Fortune 100 or whatever it is. I'm the fastest growing company. You know, we're number 98 on the list of the fastest growing 100 companies. But it's all relative, you know, and what somebody's done in their thing, I'm not taking that away from somebody. You could get on that list is a fantastic achievement, but, you know, what you're doing and what you're doing for women in construction and for the construction industry and stuff like that, you have to, because there's not many people doing it. So you have to sometimes, I know obviously...
It is hard. It is really hard to actually give yourself credit. I think recently I got nominated for one, which I then had to do a 25-minute presentation. So I find out when the finals are in September. But to sit and write a presentation about a title was Outstanding Contribution to Construction. So I've literally had to divulge into everything, whether that's, you know, women in construction or recruitment as my day job or working with ex-offenders or what I do with schools and all the rest of it. When you actually have to sit and write that down and then present it in a third person about yourself,
it's difficult.
I was like, this just feels weird, but also to hear yourself talking about what you have achieved was actually like, holy shit, there's a lot. Like, when you sort of start on page one, you're like, what the friggin' hell am I going to write? And then by the end of it, I was like running out of time for the 25 minutes. You think, Jesus, there is actually quite a bit to talk about.
Yeah. So one thing there that you mentioned is working with offenders. Is that something that you do a lot of? Because, I mean, I've always admired, he's been in the news quite recently because he's been made a minister, I think, James Timpson, for the stuff that he does with ex-offenders. I mean, what type of stuff do you do to help people? Because I do honestly feel that prisons and schools, I know they're completely polar opposite, but I feel like we miss a massive trick with both of them to get people in to doing that sort of stuff. So, you know, I know obviously in prisons you're not going to give somebody a bandsaw or, you know, probably a chisel or something like that for obvious reasons. But if we could be training people...
They are starting to do it more now.
To have a skill when they leave, or to have it to a point where all they have to do then is, if there's a local college, they can get signed up and they can go and sit there, you know, their tests to get qualified or whatever it is. I feel like that disconnect there, if somebody just had that little bit of help, and the same with schools, if you know, if you're not academic, they have a vocational section of the school that they go, right, okay, do you want to sit exams or do you want to learn a skill? Okay, you're going to get all D's, right? Let's get you your English and your maths because everybody has to get that, and then let's put you in the vocational side. So I feel like that needs to be pushed more. I mean, how do you sort of, for what you're doing then, how does that impact people that are offenders and they're coming out, like how does that help them with their lives? And give us a brief little overview.
So probably one success story, which is what I wrote about in this presentation, was a chap, he'd got involved in an altercation, shall we say, one evening, got sentenced, was in prison for 3 years, came out, had fuck all, basically, literally nothing. He came to us, said, look, I've got some experience within construction. He used to be a paint sprayer. How do I get onto a building site? So we helped him. We worked with a provider that provides free CSCS courses. So we went through all the CSCS process. We then put him out on site just as a labourer. And I said to him, look, I mentored him because he was in a sort of a bit of a rocky place where obviously he'd lost everything. And he sort of looked at going on site as a labourer as a bit of a sort of downward step, back step for him. And I said, look, you've got to understand, you've got to start somewhere. And we sort of coached him, and I sort of spent a lot of time trying to sort of build his confidence back up. He then sort of started to shine on site. You could see he was then coming out of his shell, and actually where he was more qualified prior to his sentencing, it was then demonstrated on his ability on site. And the site manager he was working with at the time then saw that in him and was like, this guy's quite good, we like him. We want him to sort of do more of a handyman multi-trades works. And we were like, yeah, not a problem. So we helped him with that, got him some tools and bits and pieces to then obviously try and encourage that sort of process. That site manager left and went to a different developer. And he said, I want this guy to come with me. So we then sort of navigated that, which then meant a further travel. We then managed to help him because obviously where he'd been in consistent work, he'd then been able to get back on the road and everything like that. So it started to progress in the right direction. He then needed an assistant site manager sort of role fill-in because where he'd gone to this new business, they didn't have anybody for him. And he said, I think if he comes on board, all right, he's going to have to start as sort of this handyman multi-trade position. I think they'll then invest in him. But we need him to sort of come on board. Can you help facilitate that? So we progressed him through, and then an opportunity came up, and he looked at me absolutely shit scared because he had to sit in an interview, he had to take a CV and actually then talk about himself. And he was like, but they're just going to judge me because I've been in prison. And I was like, no, they're going to judge you based on your ability, not about this whole point of you being in prison. Well, I haven't got a CV. I can't write a CV. I was like, I'll write you a CV. We'll sit there. All you've got to do, you talk to me, I'll type it, make it look lovely, you take it. I was like, but just be yourself. Don't focus on the prison piece, focus on what you can do. And he then got the job, and then now they've invested in him. They've spent a lot of money, probably £10,000 on all his training, and they've now put him through all his MVQ to then obviously learn all his site management as well.
I feel like there should be a lot more of that. I mean, him talking, saying, oh, they're going to judge me, I've been in prison. Again, don't get me wrong, obviously people have done stuff wrong, and I always feel like, unless it's something really major, you've paid your dues. And you should be given a second chance. It shouldn't always be held over you. But he obviously has gone through something similar to you, but slightly different. You've gone into that thing to learn about trades, and that guy was the way he was with you. And he's going in thinking people are going to be, so every anybody listening or watching, everybody gets that sort of imposter syndrome, or I'm not good enough for this, or I'm not going to get it because I don't know how to do an interview. These are things that, again, in prison, it should be, well, we'll give you some training so you know how to go and present and make yourself look smart, or what the type of questions you're going to get asked. Instead of locking somebody up in a cell for however long each day with the TV, why don't we try and teach people the skills to then come out and actually go and fix people's houses or work on a building site, or to build things. So, well done on all of that. I mean, this is a funny thing because you say imposter syndrome, but you're sat here with me and you're talking about things, and I think you've done good things. Don't ever sit there and think, oh, I shouldn't be in a room with these other people, because even the conversation we're having now, you're talking about things, helping ex-offenders and helping people get into construction, having stuff thrown at you, and you haven't given up. So you've done really well.
I think I've just got to sometimes channel that to fuel me a little bit.
I think you when you think about yourself, you always think, no, I could do better. I'm the same. Always, like, if I achieve something, I'm like, no, I could have done that. So I could have, you always want more. You always think you should be doing more. Never satisfied. But but sometimes you do have to take a step back and sort of look and go, I haven't done too bad. Do you know what I mean? You're like 23, starting your own business, starting it in somewhere where you're getting, still to this day, comments like you have, still going out and being judged. You're basically, it's almost like you've been to prison, isn't it? You may as well have been to prison the way that people judge you.
Yeah.
Are you wasting time? I think that some of you probably are, and I have a solution for you. Nobody wants to do any type of admin. Now, I have a solution for you, and it is called Tradify. It's a fully automated job scheduling, invoicing, and quoting all in one place. Now, that software is going to save you 12 hours a week, and all by using a simple software solution. Now, you can try it for 2 weeks, absolutely free, no cards needed, and you'll even get support in person from Tradify themselves. Now, when you're done, you can always come back to me and thank me, but just enjoy the extra 12 hours that you're going to gain from just using the software.
I can't remember the stat that I saw the other day, but it was something like 60% of offenders end up back in prison.
Yeah, they reoffend, don't they?
So, anything where you've managed to stay out, you've got a wife and you've probably got your own place now and you've got a good job and everything's steady. And I feel like that, again, that's another thing. So not only if trades was taught more in schools, you might not get all these kids that come out and end up in prison, but if they did and you taught them a trade, it might keep them back out of prison. So it's sort of...
One thing I've done in schools recently, which I think is really quite thought-provoking, is I've worked with year 7. So there's a school that do a myth-busting event every single year. And you go in and then you go into every single form and you have 8 to 10 minutes with each form, and they can ask you loads of quick-fire questions about your job. So it can be like, do you have to travel for work? Do you wear uniform?
What's the weirdest question you got?
The one that I found was really weird was, do you have a gun? Which obviously I do, so I couldn't lie about it. I was like, well, yeah, but that's got nothing to do with my profession. But I wasn't going to lie to this little child. And they... For
a second then, when you said, yeah, I have, I was like, where would you use one of them on a construction site? That's the baby brain kicking in. I was like, she just told me she liked shooting. I was like, on a construction site? I'm shooting.
Yes, no one pays me, then I'm going, wait, where's my money?
Just straight into the office.
And they, honestly, that is probably the most thought, because you have to go in plain clothes. So I went in just like a hoodie and leggings, and straight away they start thinking, oh, fitness, because they look at what you're wearing.
Okay.
So I had sort of fitness was one. When they obviously realised I had a gun, they thought maybe mafia. Which is quite funny. Formula 1 driver was one of them. But then at the end, you get all the forms together and then you do an assembly of what everyone's occupation is.
Yeah.
And to see their faces, they're like, oh. And that is so... And even you look at it, how people look already to a year 7.
What was it Georgina said? She said, which I completely forgot on the podcast. She said, you've got a fireman, a policeman, a postman. And these are all things like, I swear I live in a cave because I just never think of any of these things. Do you know? It doesn't cross my mind that it's sort of, that is ingrained in you from a very young age.
Yeah. And that's what they're trying to do.
I'd never want to call it a post person because I'd never be able to, like, do you know what I mean? It does sound weird. But I do think that people don't think about, it's almost like, subconscious, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's no different to when you watch, cartoons and people in certain roles are certain.
Well, I'd only say probably in the last 5 to 10 years have there been like cartoons where the lead characters, Frozen and stuff like that. Before it was like Sleeping Beauty, she pricked her finger and then she was knocked out cold for 3/4 of the film. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I do think a lot of stuff's changing, but especially construction. Obviously, we had Leon from On the Tools, and he was talking about, how he sees things going. You just got to keep that sort of momentum going, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I still can't get over. I've still got dick pic in my mind. That killed off my...
Did you want to talk about the dress?
Yeah, let's talk about... So where did the idea for the dress come from?
So it was a pass away comment, because I get the imposter syndrome when I go to awards, and I said...
But then this is where I don't understand it, because if you get the imposter syndrome, all eyes are on you when you walk in that high-vis outfit.
But I feel like that's my armour, because I walk on a building site and I don't feel like I've got imposter syndrome. I don't have any anxiety, any nerves, no nothing. Yeah, I can walk on a big construction site of like 300 people. Not a problem. Walk in an awards, I'm like, oh, I want to go and throw up. So that's where it came from. It was a conversation I had with my husband. I said, I just want to turn up in my PPE. It's like my armour. And he said, well, don't you? I said, oh, don't you? So fucking ridiculous.
I love that. It's so simple for a guy, isn't it? Why don't you?
So it then just, like I say all the time, this seed, it just bubbles away. And I thought, I wonder if I could make a dress out of it. So I spoke to a friend of mine who's a seamstress and said, I've got an idea. And she was like, you're absolutely nuts. Like,
It's a good idea, though.
a minging material to work with. How is it going to work? And I said, I just want it to look like a high-vis vest. Very plain, not much cut to it, but also that it does actually fit properly. And that's where the idea of the high-vis dress was born.
Yeah. And then sort of give us a little bit of the story, how it managed to navigate its way across the pond to the good US of A.
Honestly, I cannot explain to you. Obviously, when we got to everyone that I was attending with knew what I was doing, because obviously I was like, I'm going to pre-warn you when I get out of the cab.
Just in case you wait for me and you're like, what the...
Literally. And they were all like, this is mad, but brilliant. And when we turned up, it was a construction awards for top 100 women. And instantly there's people stood outside the Edgbaston Cricket Stadium and were like, oh, and I was like, oh shit, like this is impactful. And I never forget, we were going up in the lift, and that point my mouth just went so dry, because I was like, I was like, I need to go to the bar as soon as we get here.
Gung, 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 gung.
Literally, it was mad. And
Calms and a G&C, I like that.
Yeah, that is my. I had a calms before I come on here, actually. So for me, that was the start of it. Obviously, the comments on the night were phenomenal, and then obviously posted on social media, and then news picked it up. GB News rang me and said, "Don't suppose you could come down on Sunday?" I was like, "Yeah, no worries."
It's not the one with Peter Andre, is it? Because I think he does one as well, doesn't he, on GB?
No, I had an older chap, and what's her name? Anne Diamond.
Ah, yeah.
Just like, no problem. 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning, but obviously in London.
With the dress on.
With the dress on. Just casually
Taxi
walking
driver.
through. Yeah.
Don't mind me, mate.
People thinking, what's this weirdo doing? She looked like she was supposed to come out on the night out, because it's so
She's only
early.
just coming home.
And it just spiralled from there. Yeah. And I can't explain to people how much my phone went off on that drive home.
Yeah.
I thought it would get an impact, because
Yeah.
it was a bit wild and wacky. And obviously there was a personal story behind it that would probably get some impact that people, because a lot of people actually reached out and didn't realise.
It just shows you the power of thinking slightly different, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And marketing. Yeah. So you probably would have been a success if
you'd have
gone into there. But just one little idea that just is completely different. I mean, if you're going to go to another awards now, people are going to expect something.
That was the problem, though. So we had that award, so I wore the orange dress. Then we had the On the Tools, which I had the yellow dress for. And then a week later, I had another awards, and I literally wore the most boring, plain black dress you've ever seen. And everyone was like, oh. And I was like, well, I can't just keep wearing high-vis. It doesn't work like that.
You've got to come out with different high-vis.
I did have a suit.
Imagine if that's a thing, because like, what's that fashion brand from France?
Vogue. Put like a little Vogue.
Is it Balenciaga?
Yeah.
Because they always have wacky shit like that. You could literally be like,
hook me up.
what was it? Le gilet jaune. You remember in France, the yellow jackets, the yellow vests. You could be like Le gilet jaune, collection, Balenciaga. Yeah.
He's got it down to a T. If I need a voiceover, I'm totally hitting you up.
But you could do something like that, couldn't you?
It'd be quite cool, wouldn't it?
Just like high-vis.
Just don't wear it on site.
You'd probably find people that actually.
Oh no!
You'd have to do short, like some shorts, like a short combo or something like that.
I don't think much work would get done, and I don't think health and safety would appreciate that.
They probably wouldn't let you on, would they? Killjoys. But so what does the future hold for you, and what does the future hold for business or anything like that?
So I would say do more renovations, refurbs myself.
Yeah.
So not employing trades to do it, and actually doing it myself with my husband. Business wise, I'm happy.
Are you ready for this? the arguing.
I think we're actually quite a good team, so I'm hoping he'll back me up on that. I can't see him, so
He's like that.
he's like, absolutely not.
Not when
Just
she-
remember I
not-
got that knife.
Not
yeah?
when she eats my jelly babies.
No, I'm going to fuel him with Jenny babies. That's the trick. Business-wise, I'm happy with what we're doing, and I think just keep that nice and consistent because I don't want it to be massive and then you lose that service element. Like I'm happy.
Manageable, yeah.
Happy with what we're doing, and I've got a really good team, and I'm really fortunate with that. And then I think for me, it's about bringing male and female into the industry. And obviously, it's great to empower more women into construction and business, but ultimately, I think the skill shortage is no matter what gender you are, there's a place for you. And I think trying to inspire
Anybody,
younger people, anybody, any background, no matter what you are, to come in.
That's good. I think that's good. Should we do final thought? That was a bit like a final thought, though, wasn't it? We always do like a Jerry Springer final thought.
God.
So if you want to look directly into the camera and pass off some valuable information to somebody or shamelessly plug yourself, Kelly Cartwright.
No, I'm not that kind of person.
We did.
I'll plug somebody, though. Braun Workwear. He'll appreciate that.
We had Braun on last week.
There you go.
We had him on last week, didn't we?
My lovely little Liam.
Liam, yeah, we had him on. Nice guy.
Lovely guy.
Humble guy.
Yeah,
and
he's
the,
lovely.
And the thing that I said to him, because obviously he always drops in my messages, because I think he lives around there, doesn't
Yeah,
he?
he's local to here, yeah.
And he always drops in the messages and asks me a bit about this business and stuff like that. And he's very similar to how I have been, where if anybody gives me any information or does anything for me, like I can't thank people enough. I wouldn't have a successful business without people on social media or people supporting the brand, and I can never ever thank people enough. Like I'm always really humble with it, and he's very, very. When we were speaking to him here, I was like, you go far because you're humble.
He's a really nice guy.
Yeah. And there's not many of them. So,
Absolutely.
as we
So,
found out from LinkedIn, you buggers. Bloody Microsoft. Trust it. It's down today, isn't it? Microsoft, that's all anyone's talking about.
I saw this on my socials. I'm like, oh, God.
That's all anyone's talking about, bloody Microsoft. The best one is where Facebook goes down or Instagram goes down and everyone goes on Twitter to find out whether it's down. And you're like,
Yeah, none of us actually use Twitter.
You're like, it's down. Well, this is the only time I go on there is to see if Instagram's down.
That's the same as me.
So. But I better wrap it up because otherwise I'm going to go home and I'm going to get...
Earache for your car.
Oh, she hasn't messaged me again, I don't think. Should have a look. Oh, I've got two messages. Let's have a look.
Oh, God.
No, it's not her. Thank God for that.
Hopefully she don't listen.
No,
Have you cut this, Jan?
She's gonna. It's 6:10. So probably by the time I get home, she'll have one of them in bed and the other one
On its way.
So, yeah, thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you
on.
for having me.
And apologies on behalf of the whole of mankind
It's fine.
for some of the.
Maybe you should do some branded like razors or something to help mankind.
Well, isn't there what's it called? What's that man trimmer? What's it? Manscape. Manscape. There is a trimmer called Manscape. You should have sent him that.
That's what I should have
But the
said.
problem is if you engage.
Oh yeah,
They think. Oh yeah, well, she sent me that. She's flirting. No, mate, she sent you that because you're an absolute bellend. It's just.
There you go. Learn something new every day.
Well, I don't think I'll ever be the same after that. if I'm honest. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming on as well.